So today we're looking at the news from the Northern Research Group, and it's always good to look at these different, shall we say, Tory factions, because as I've said before, these factions in the Tory party are very new to British politics, even though they aren't really new to, say, other countries' politics. Other countries are quite used to having different factions within a party. However, the fact that, especially at the current Tory party, we've got the European Research Group, the COVID Recovery Group, the Northern Research Group, the something about woke culture group, which are pointless. So there's about 4 different factions, all claiming various different ownership of different things. And this will come back to bite the Tories sooner or later. It is only a matter of time before something's got to give. And one of these things we've got to have to say is, especially when it comes to Brexit and spending money, the northern, shall we say, what they're calling Red Wall Tories are still in a very precarious situation. They literally, many of them, only got in through literally the skin of their teeth. Some of them got through on literally 2,000 to 3,000 votes. Now, this is a very, very slim majority that quite mostly most of them got in on. And some of them actually want to keep on in those seats. However, these seats are very, very traditional Labour seats, and they are going to be fought over, fingers crossed, because we're going to be talking about Labour, don't you worry. Hopefully they will win these back. But sooner or later, as we said, something's got to give. And especially these Red Wall Tories, when it comes to election time, will have to go back to their constituencies and say, okay, this is what we did for you, what we promised. And they promised a whole lot at the last election. So that's a whole lot that they will not be able to deliver on. So, before we jump into today's article, please do remember to hit that like and share button. And of course, down below, there's a link to my Patreon page and a one-off donation link. And as always, thank you to those people who do support me that way. So, on with this. So, this comes from the New European, and the title is, "The Red Wall Tories Want Boris Johnson to Deliver a Northern Big Bang." Boris Johnson is facing calls from his Northern Tories to make good his promises at the general election. The Northern Research Group, or the NRG, of MPs want to see the region benefit from the Prime Minister's commitment to level up by unleashing a new investment boom. We've said this many, many, many times before when we've covered this. The Tories, in no way, shape or form, are going to suddenly start to invest the amount of money needed in the north. And trust me, it runs really into the billions of pounds that is desperately needed in the north that we would need to see to create this kind of economic boom. But once again, this was tied to the whole let's get Brexit done lie and we'll, quote, build back better. None of the money that we are currently seeing is creating the type of big economic boom that was promised to a lot of these people who voted Tory for the very first time in their entire lives. And already some are regretting that decision. And this will have huge impacts on the next general election. As I've said, most probably, if Labour doesn't drop the ball, fingers crossed, they will get in. If they do drop the ball, we are probably going to be looking at a hung parliament. What form will it take? Who knows? But surely it's going to be very, very worrying. Or the Tories are going to maintain a very, very narrow majority. Either one of those two things is a potential scenario of happening. But as we've said before, Labour can't just rely on the Tories just to be, awful, essentially. They've got to start putting out policy. But anyway, back to the article. So they say the region needs its own Big Bang, comparable to the deregulation of the City of London in the 1980s to deliver opportunity and prosperity. So their big plan is to let's just deregulate the north and, quote, everything will get better. Once again, the Tories' very London-centric model of viewing, how come this doesn't work outside London? We don't know how to, live beyond, the Watford Gap. This is how the Tories operate. If it doesn't work, if it works in the City of London, surely it should work everywhere else. But no, it doesn't. So the group includes many of the so-called Red Wall Tories who took traditional Labour Party strongholds in the party's 2019 general election victory. In a report written with the Centre of Policy Studies think tank, the NRG said the government needed to match the radicalism of voters who backed Conservatives for the very first time with a radical agenda of its own. The aim of a Northern Big Bang should be to unleash a torrent of investment into the North's economy, to deliver the productivity, gains and economic growth and higher wages that are so desperately needed, it said. These proposals and the investment can create a Northern Big Bang, comparable to the 1980s Big Bang in the City of London, which did so much to bring new opportunities to the economic growth in London and the South East. The report's recommendations include cash incentives for investors to spur green industrial revolutions, fast-tracking major planning applications with decisions in weeks, not years, and updating pension scheme rules to encourage more investment in northern infrastructure. They also called for new creations of a new northern infrastructure bond aimed at global investors, with a northern recovery bond to allow local investors to support growth, and a new growth board for the north to help steer investment. Many of you may have heard that before. Some of those very ideas of having a focus board to help steer a northern boom were some of the ideas proposed in the Northern Powerhouse. And as I said, the Northern Powerhouse idea in itself wasn't a bad set of ideas. The thing is, the Tories just didn't want to do it because that involved spending money. So what on earth is going to actually give them incentives to invest money now? So the report said that various proposals put together had the potential to unlock billions of pounds of private sector investment into the region. Wow. Once again, relying on the private sector to do it when it's the government that needs to we say, actually lead the charge on this and put money in themselves. There is a particular opportunity to make the North the home of the green industrial revolution, which the Prime Minister Boris Johnson has called for, it said. The innovation and technology which will allow us to achieve our net zero ambitions needs to be included somewhere, and the north of England is the most obvious place given its manufacturing strength and industrial pedigree. The chairman of the Northern Research Group, Jake Berry, said, at the last elections, Northern voters broke with tradition by voting for the Conservative Party in many cases for the first time. Don't think they'll be voting you again, my friend. The Prime Minister needs to recognise that they did so not only to deliver Brexit, but to voice the systemic disadvantages felt in many communities that were tired of being neglected in favour of London and the South East. The measures we have put forward will help the Prime Minister and his government to, quote, level up the economy and help make the North build back better as one of the most investable places in modern times. Yeah, as I've said before, whenever we've heard these stories or we've covered Boris Johnson saying like this, I'll believe it when I see it. Currently, at the moment, what we've seen of these, shall we say, very, very small-scale investments have literally been photo opportunities for these Red Wall Tories to go out and take a couple of photos. In fact, what's been really funny, if you really follow some of these guys, some of their projects that they've been following were heavily pushed by their predecessors, who were themselves Labour MPs. So, whoops. So, like I say, don't expect any of this. Like I say, I'm not going to hold my breath, because the chances of the Tories actually doing this are incredibly slim. And like I say, they do not want to spend the amount of money needed to actually properly invest in the North. And this is something that Labour needs to put forward as a policy. It's about time Labour started putting forward policies. We'll get to Labour. Trust me, we'll get to Labour sooner or later. But for now, as always, thank you very much. Please do remember to hit that like and share button. And of course, down below there is a link to my Patreon page and a one-off donation link. And as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you all next time.